My name is Michelle Clark, and I head up Talent Dynamics here. I'm based in the UK. I'm absolutely delighted today because I'm going to be interviewing someone who is my friend, my colleague, and my mentor is Roger James Hamilton. And judging by the number of people who've registered for this webinar and already submitted questions in advance, I'm not the only person who's excited. Roger's been my inspiration for a lot of years. It was because I met him back in 2005 and actually took my Wealth Dynamics profile test all those years ago that I'm even here today heading up Talent Dynamics and bringing you the Trust Conference later in the year, which I'll share a bit more about on this call as well. So that's me there on the right, and of course you know Roger there on the left. Now, just by actually being on this call today, you'll have been sent a link to take the Trust test. Hasn't even launched yet, so the people who are on this call are actually taking it ahead of its official launch. This is the Talent Dynamics newest product, the Trust test. For those of you, if you haven't seen the link for some reason, Janet's just going to pop that there in the chat box. It is thetrusttest.com. It's thetrusttest.com. So if you haven't had a chance to take your trust test yet, do that. It's a free Facebook app, and we'll be sharing more about that later on this call as well. So Roger is a serial social entrepreneur. He's dedicated to being a lifelong change maker. He's out there inspiring and teaching many other change makers how for themselves to be really powerful in their passion, in their purpose, and to have really amazing businesses. I know quite a few of you on this call are already part of Roger's mentoring group as well. He's got so many businesses out there. There's actually too many to even mention on this slide, but here's some of them that I could actually fit on. XL Vision Villas, which is an amazing resort out in Bali. I've been blessed to stay there a number of times myself and create some fantastic plans for the business. The Entrepreneurs Institute, which is just a super hot training and development space for entrepreneurs to really get into their flow. The iLab, which is the latest venture that Roger's been working on. This is over in Bali. This is where you can actually go and at an incubator level and go work in Bali for a month, work out how to run your business from an iPad in Bali. It's pretty cool. I was actually presenting there last week. Sadly from here, not from Bali, but sharing with some of the people there. He's the chairman of the Green School out in Bali, which is the world's greenest school. It's doing some amazing work. It's turning out some fantastic, amazing young people who are going to be the future leaders the future leaders just generally of everything that we're about doing. Is super inspiring. Of course, Wealth Dynamics. I think a lot of you on this call are going to be really familiar with Wealth Dynamics. Probably many of you have taken your profile test already. As I said, this is where I first met Roger and came into contact with him when I got to do my profile test, and why I'm even here today with Talent Dynamics. Fast Forward Your Business is a series of really cool events that Roger runs globally. I know he's going to be here in the UK in September when he's here for the Trust Conference, doing Fast Forward Your Business in London and also in Manchester as well. Quite a lot of you have been to that and are following the key trends and the key waves that are coming to impact on your business. And of course, he's the creator of Talent Dynamics as well, the reason we're even here today. He's best-selling author of lots of books. Wink is an amazing parable about flow in itself and how to get into flow and what that flow plumbing system is even about. The Fast Forward Your Business book, if you've been to his events, you'll definitely have seen this book, How to Surf the Waves of Change, and the things that are coming out there already. One of my favorite books of all time, Your Life, Your Legacy, understanding about your own personal flow, understanding about how you can actually turn that into your own passion and leave a lasting legacy. And of course, the Talent Dynamics book as well, How to Unlock Your Team's True Potential. Many of you who've taken the profile test through Talent Dynamics also have read this book as well. So just before I get started with Roger, I'd love to see a show of hands, the people on this call already, who here has either already taken a Wealth Dynamics test or a Talent Dynamics profile test, and you already know what your profile is. You can just go and click on the little hand button, and we're seeing quite a few hands going up already. There's a lot of people on this call who've already taken one or either of those profile tests, which is great. Now, you're going to find out later on this call how to get some copies of Roger's books as well, because we're going to be offering the opportunity for people to do that. But before we go into that, Roger, good morning. Roger, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm busy.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing this morning? Oh, you've gone again. Are you there? Oh, we've managed to lose Roger's sound already. Roger, I know Roger is dialing in this morning from Bali, so I'm just going to check we've still got him on the line there. Let's see if he's even there. So he's there, but we can't hear him. So Roger, whether your sound has
I'm doing
just...
very well. Um,
Oh, there you are.
can you hear me?
There you are. You're back. You're kind of going in and out there,
I
actually.
am
Let's
here.
just see. Yeah, let's just
Um,
see how this works.
all right.
All right, I've got you. So I was just saying good morning and how are you?
I'm saying I'm very well.
Good. Thanks for joining me this morning. I know also you're going to be one of the key speakers at the Trust Conference. I'm going to be sharing with people more about that later on, actually. We've probably got a lot of people already on the call who are coming to the Trust Conference. In fact, again, just give me a show of hands. The people on this call, if you're already coming to the Trust Conference, let me know. Just give us an idea if you're already booked in to see that. But you're going to be one of the key speakers at the Trust Conference. We'll share a bit more about that later on. But today we really want to focus on talking about the 5 levels of trust, which we're going to talk about, and also the trust test. So, Roger, let's just kick straight off into this and tell me, why do you think today trust is even more important than ever before? Like, just how important is trust?
Okay. First of all, just before I start talking, checking the equipment, trusting the equipment. Can you hear me right now?
We can hear you right now.
Okay, awesome. Well, okay. So I think the technology in itself is for me the answer to this. That trust is one of those like amazing things that if it is there and if it's working right, it's invisible. Like technology, if you're trusting technology,
Yeah.
it's there, it's happening. You're not even thinking about the trust side. But if it stops working and then suddenly you realize that things aren't the way they're meant to be, then all value falls down. All value falls down, whether it's, you can't trust the power is on, or you can't trust the water's working, or the people that were helping you yesterday are going to show up for work today. The moment all those pieces fall apart, it's very difficult to get anything done. And we're living in a society where uncertainty continues to grow, where the speed of change continues to grow. And so trust is more important now than ever. And more importantly, people are now realizing when trust is breaking down because things aren't working the way that they used to, that trust has become important. Whereas before, if things are moving slowly, it's very easy to take it for granted and not even realize how much it underpins everything we're doing.
Yeah. So, like from your experience with the organizations that have high trust, what are the sort of things that happen when they really focus at building trust?
One of the most important things, which is kind of leading on from what Stephen was talking about in his call with you, where he was talking all about capability and competence, at the end of the day, we're moving from a world where we have been relying in the industrial age on the power of production, which is all about who owns the factories, who owns the TV channels, who holds the strings of the government that can actually control the delivery of value in such a way that whatever shows up, whatever ad we're watching on TV, whatever messages put in front of us that gets our attention, that those things are the things we end up basically taking action on. And we've really shifted from that power production model to a power of consumption model where you can control all of that, and it doesn't mean anyone is going to be looking at any of it because they have so many other options today as to how they're going to spend their attention. And so where do they spend their attention? They spend it where it's being trusted. If they trust a friend and the friend tells them, go and have a look at this over here, then they're going to go and have a look at it. And their attention is moving on the lines of trust now. It's not moving on the lines of control. Business or even your marketing programs or the way you manage your team based on control, and you're suddenly finding you're not getting the same level of attention or reliability you did before, is very much because they're trusting something else, either someone else's product, someone else's leadership. And so because of that, unless you start changing from lines of control to lines of trust, there's no way to be able to regain any momentum to be able to move forward right now as well. So for me, that's the most important thing right now, is companies that are really getting it, get huge attraction. They don't have to go chasing the business because people already trust them. They're telling others, and that's not just customers. That's people that even want to come and work in the companies.
So moving from lines of control to lines of trust, is that something? Is that a specific strategy that they can follow to make that happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is where it's very interesting, the difference of laying down paving in order to get somewhere and following the river, where, I mean, water already will flow in the path of least resistance, and trust is very much the same thing. And so it's a little bit like the early explorers that went over to America, and in England they could just follow the pathways, and they found all of the cities pretty much wherever all the pathways met. Those lines that they had actually created for themselves. And come over to America, there's no pathways. There's nothing here. What are they going to do? And the explorers just followed the rivers. They followed where the flow already was, where it was already coming from. A lot of businesses today, they'll look and see what are people really looking at, where are they moving towards, how can we work in a way that allows us to connect with what people already are requiring or needing right now. What are they moving away from at the moment? So there's no question that there are businesses at the moment that are in the firing line because people don't trust them in the same way they did. And there lies a new opportunity because they're clearly looking for something they can trust more. And so that's where, if you've seen some of the Samsung ads recently on Apple, people do trust Apple, that Apple can be innovative, but they don't trust Apple that they're always reliable. So Samsung can come along and say, well, we can be more reliable and we can be cheaper. And so what they're doing is they're not trying to beat Apple in innovation by saying we can be more trusted in Apple innovation. Instead, they're saying we can be more trusted in Apple in value for money and in trustworthiness, that we can be more open. And that's because that's not been part of what Apple's been looking to get trusted in. It's actually quite easy to beat them in that game. So we all have to realize that trust is multidimensional. It's not all about am I trusted, am I not? It's what am I trusted in? And how can I have an ability to be able to attract people in an area where there's a gap that they're looking for trust at this point.
So do you think it's about focusing in one area where you can be most trusted, or like you said, Samsung there, maybe there's two areas they're wanting to get trusted in. Apple, one is the innovation. Should people and companies be focusing at one thing or a couple of things?
The key thing around these different levels of trust and these different lines is realizing the more you become trusted in one particular thing, you would expect, because every point has an opposite, that there's something you'd be less trusted in. So, for example, we all know people that are really creative and they're really great at being, you absolutely trust they're going to come with the most amazing ideas, but it doesn't mean you're going to trust that same person in their ability to fill out the paperwork. And if you say, look, just stop doing all of that and just fill out the paperwork. Now, I was in a team recently where they were saying, our customers don't trust that we are going to slow things down enough to be able to look after them. So while they bought some of our products, they're not buying our higher-end services because they don't trust we're going to be able to deliver at the level that they really want that delivery at. And what I shared with him is I said, well, the message is not to go out there saying you can be trusted in that. The message is you're going to stop producing a whole bunch of new products for a while you're looking to solve this issue. And the fact that you're actually stopping the one thing that's taking up your attention, which is why you can't solve this, that alone is going to allow them, that's going to give them the message, hey, we can actually trust the leadership, because the leadership shifted where they're actually focusing their trust, and they're not trying to be trusted in all things. They're being trusted in a particular area which works best.
Okay, great. So you've said about the 5 levels of trust. I know everyone's really curious about these. Like, tell us what are the 5 levels of trust?
Okay, so these 5 levels of trust are they're linked to the trust test, which people on this call will be doing. They're linked to the talent dynamics, wealth dynamics systems, and they're about 5 attributes that are within us. And this is really interesting, the 5 and the way they're linked together, because this is not something that's just been created recently. This is something that goes back a long way in time. And really, trust itself, just before we jump into the 5, trust itself will always come up as a more critical factor. It will become more important based on 2 things. Number 1, uncertainty. When things are certain, you've really got a lot of time to work things out. So, you don't have to trust the data you had. You can test it. You can see if it's right or not. But it's like if you're in a, suddenly in a storm and, you were testing your crew out to see how they all are, and suddenly you got to get the right trusted people in the right place. You don't have time to test that anymore. So when uncertainty increases, your need for certainty increases, and with that, your reliance on trust goes up as well. So why is that important? These 5 same things are the things that, if we go right back in time, our ancestors, when they couldn't trust the weather or they couldn't trust natural phenomenon, they looked for what they could trust. They said, what is it that we can find that is reliable in all this uncertainty, that we can at least start to predict things like the seasons, so we can actually plant things?
Oh, we lost a bit of Roger's sound there. Let me check where he's gone.
Hey, Michelle?
Oh, we got you. Yeah. So we just heard you saying about the seasons there.
Oh yeah. So whenever we're in a situation of uncertainty, like we are today in the modern world, we go looking for where there is trust, and that often means looking for someone who we trust to advise us on something because we know that they've been through this a number of times before. So from that aspect, uncertainty will always lead us to looking for trust, and
Mm,
that's for all of us. And the second thing outside uncertainty is the consequences, the stakes. You know, the higher the stakes are, the more we're going to want to rely on things we can trust immediately, as
yeah.
opposed to just, again, test many different things out. And the stakes are now higher than ever in terms of people losing their jobs, or
Yeah.
in terms of people losing the ability to keep up with what's happening and the speed that things are happening as well. So we
Mm,
can take those same 5 principles that were found all the way back 5,000 years ago. Every different culture came up with the same conclusion, and they really used the 5 planets which were up there as the elements. And Plato did this. This was the basis of pretty much all psychometric testing today. Hippocrates did this with the Hippocratic humors, which was all about how we use medicine with the 4. Plato did it with the Platonic solids, and it was like saying when we get down to purity, there's some things we can really rely on, and these things appear in people, they appear in things. In fact, they actually looked at every single thing. The reason you kind of like you go back in time, everyone had gods for everything. They looked at every single thing in terms of what was the element in the core of it, which you could rely on fully. And there were 5 things, and those 5 linked to the 5 planets. It gave us the days of the week that we have today, and those 5 are 5 things that we can find within ourselves as well. And you can also call them by a different word, which is a genius. So if you look up the base of genius, genius was uh, the inner God. It was the inner essence of a particular thing. And the plural of genius, which is genie, is where we get the little genie in the bottle. It's like if
mm,
you get to the genie, you can get your wishes made, right? And every one of us has got a genius. Every one of us has got something that we can truly be trusted in. And within that thing that we're trusted in, they go around the cycle, which links in the simplest way to the seasons. So,
mm.
for example, I am a dynamo genius. I can be trusted in a dynamo way, which basically means that with the wood energy, my creative spirit, I'm very, very creative. I'm very good at asking the question what. Everything that I do is very similar to the way that someone like a Steve Jobs, who many people didn't trust was a great leader from the point of view of being compassionate, but absolutely trusted from his genius to be able to create product. That was, as a result, an area which allowed him to be successful. There are people like that, Einstein and others, where you can criticize them for what they're not trusted in, but they didn't
Mm.
spend all their time going out trying to be more trusted in their weakest area. They focused on the one thing they're most trusted in, and they built their entire life model around that. So Dynamo Genius is all about that level of trust. It's being trusted in ideas, but more than just ideas, in applicable action, in starting things up. And that's one particular way of being trusted, and the word for that is innovation. So you can be
So
trusted in
I'm going to
innovation.
move that. I'm going to show people this slide here on the Genius test as well, where they can see that relates to that one, which is if you've come out as innovation trusted, then you're going to be a dynamo genius.
So one thing really important about this is some people will define leadership as find people you can trust and then get them into action. Whereas really, real strong leadership is finding where someone can already be trusted and get them into action on that. I just had
Mm,
a conversation this morning with a team that was looking for some real charismatic leadership within their team. They had a leader in there at the moment who wasn't so charismatic. They're saying we want to try and train this person up so they can be more charismatic. And I said, do
oh.
you think you have some? I said, do you think you have some charismatic people in the team already? And they said, yes, we
Mm,
do. I was like, well, why don't you take them and get them some of the message and spread around the leadership so that what you already need to get to with the people you already trust to get it done,
mm.
while you're then giving the person that you're looking to train the time to train without setting them up to fail in an area that you already don't trust them in. So, this is the thing about trust. It's not binary, where it's all about we're either trusted or we're not. It's about knowing there's already an area in our life where we already are trusted. And innovation trust is one level of trust. There's a second one, which is on the right-hand side, which is moving from spring energy, where spring is all about growing things. You can always trust in spring that if you land something in spring, it's going to grow. But the second energy, which is the summer energy, it's the fire energy. This is about relationships. It's about people genius. It's about being trusted that this is someone who will communicate with people. A lot of creative innovators are actually really bad at the communication side. They kind of expect everyone can read their minds. And so you can't trust that they're going to go out in the most effective way to share with everyone. Whereas with people who are real people trusted, they'll take those messages, and you can trust they'll be able to get out there and really spend the time with each person or with the entire team so they get that message. Someone like Jack Welch, he wasn't like Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison is an innovation genius who created General Electric. Jack Welch was the manager of the century in General Electric, and his whole thing was just keep repeating the same message again and again in as many different ways as you need to. He could be trusted with the communication side, and it's a very different way of trusting someone. And they didn't trust him that he was going to be the numbers guy, but that's okay. They would give him other people that would work on the numbers side. I'll go through the other two real quick because I think everyone gets the idea behind this. The next one, which is senses trusted, is actually the opposite of innovation trusted. So think about senses being sensory. The way you're using your mind is sensory as opposed to intuitive. It's autumn energy. It's asking everyone for their input. It's very different from innovation. Let's talk about this like brands. An innovation brand is like Apple, where you don't necessarily think they're going to be there at the end of the phone listening to all of your problems. They're going to probably just have an FAQ or get you to go to a service center. But you fly Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines has got an entire ethos and brand which is trusted for a service. And you don't want to go on and find that each time they're testing new seats out. You want them to be the same seat every time until they have an upgrade, and then they're letting everyone know about it. So service trusted is a very different thing from innovation. It's different people in your team that will be good at that, and don't expect the person who finds that there's challenges in service are going to be your most creative people. They won't, because they're spending more time listening to what people really are looking for, and they're finding solutions to their issues as opposed to creating new solutions in areas people didn't even realize had issues in the first place. And then the fourth one, and there are five. There's one which is the apex of this pyramid, but the fourth one in any event, which is the winter energy, is the and this is someone who is Google's an example. You don't want to go every time you go to the Google web homepage and find that they've totally innovated it. Yes, they can change the little icon, but it's the same way you search, and you're looking for efficiency with something like this. You're not looking for something where, don't worry about the inefficiency. It doesn't have to look good. It can be anywhere, but you want to know it's going to be there, and that they've actually found the smartest, most efficient way to make things happen. That's detail trusted, and there are some people who are amazing at this. They'll go into all the detail, and they'll find exactly the right process and system to use. They won't do it by going out talking to others that much. They don't want to hear the whole story. So that's why detail, which is almost like left brain, is a very different way of trusting someone than the right brain people side, relationships. And the more you're doing one, the less you should be looking to trust someone and the other at the same time, because that's like trying to trust water to be steam and ice at the same time, which it just can't be. It needs to be in one state or another in order for it to be able to do its job. So those are the four core ones, and there's a fifth level, which is called spirit trusted, which is all about inspiring. And that's one that we all get to as we start cycling off this. And that's a really important part, because that's something that as well, people will come into a team that they can be trusted, they're going to be inspired by, as a result of everyone having the respect to support others in the areas where they're most trusted as well.
Oh, awesome. Now, we've had a lot of questions in, Roger, where people have obviously taken the trust test now and seen that there's an area where they're most trusted and least trusted. And a lot of people are saying, well, the area where I'm least trusted, what do I need to do to go about improving the trust in that area? But that's kind of the opposite of what you're saying, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like, if Steve Jobs spent here's a good one. I use Steve Jobs as an example. Let's Warren Buffett as an example. So Warren Buffett, he said the hardest thing for him in life is public speaking. And and by the way, he's detail. He's absolutely a detail trusted person. People want that. What comes with each of these is a payoff, and with detail trusted, it comes with safety. So people feel safe with them in a way that they wouldn't feel necessarily safe with a Richard Branson in a new startup, in that anything could happen, but they're in there for the excitement. It's a very different thing. But if you have someone like a Warren Buffett, his story is the biggest thing was public speaking. Is like, he was not trusted to get up there and to be charismatic on stage. He went out and started taking courses, like the Carnegie courses, to learn how to speak better. And he said, you know what, that's not going to be my life, and I can get other people to speak for me. And if I've got enough stuff to say, people will probably come and travel around the world to see me to speak whatever I say, or have lunch with me, which is exactly what he does today. But he didn't focus at that weakness. I'm not saying that you don't focus at all in areas where you're weak, and there's things you can do to at least be possible. But if you're in a team, and let's say, for example, you're a salesperson and you're really good at it, and you're hitting all your numbers, but you're always struggling to get the paperwork done properly, you're much better off getting someone in the team to work with you who does that really well and who's trusted, who can actually support you in making that happen, and so you can then get what needs to be done, rather than spending all your time on something that you're really not that trusted in and probably don't trust yourself that much in either, feeling bad about it, and more importantly, taking all your time away from the one area that actually you're most attractive in.
So the salesperson would be a good example of someone who'd be probably people trusted but struggles on the detail trusted side, right?
Sometimes. I mean, you will find, like, for example, whenever we organize for any of our teams, we will take even something like a sales process, and we'll break it down into the fact that there's an area at the beginning of a sales process that we are really interested in, which is how do people even find us, and that's the spring energy. It's like, well, what's our marketing strategies or the way we're even packaging things so that we don't even really need to sell, because people get so enamored by our products in the first place that they're already calling up wanting it, and we'll always put someone who's much more innovation trusted in that area to support the entire packaging and marketing of what we're doing. And then we'll find somebody at the second stage where we're saying what we do want is an ability to have a team or a couple of individuals who are really trusted to just have no qualms about going out and meeting people and meeting new connections, which for a lot of people they can't be trusted to do, and it doesn't come naturally to them. When you find those blaze energies who can do that, the summer energies who do that, off they go, and they focus at that. But then the next step, which is really getting repeat business, really looking after customers once they're starting to come on board, often that's someone who's much more tempo energy. It's a different person in the team who's trusted to really deliver service. My experience is when you find people and you try and give them all of these at the same time, they're so struggling to try and be trusted in all areas, they never become exceptional in any one area.
Now, of course, that's the great challenge that most of the people who are listening in today, who probably work in larger organizations and larger teams, that's the challenge they're going to face, because many job profiles, and we see this all the time when we go in and work with teams and organizations, the job profiles that you're given expect you to be trusted in all 4 areas. You know, we want you to be creative and come up with good ideas. We want you to be good at line managing people and inspiring them. We want you to be good at service and deliver things on time. And we want you to get the numbers right and make sure that we're controlling the finance side. I mean, that's a big challenge for an organization. And you know, what do you recommend to the people who are listening in terms of the way that they should be looking at structuring their teams right now?
It's a great question, and it's because traditionally, like I was saying earlier, the power production model is one in which everyone's already got a component, a little bit like a factory, where everyone's part of the line. And that's great for efficiency, but it's really not necessarily that great for effectiveness, and it's certainly not, as Stephen talks about in terms of speed, it's not something which allows you to be able to adjust rapidly. So I'll give you an example of exactly that. At the Green School, where we are on the one hand a traditional school because we have classes like other schools and we have teachers who are teaching students like other schools, we also have some pretty big objectives where we're looking to teach the whole child, and we're bringing in all sorts of different innovations like thematic lessons where kids are involved in learning in all different ways in the same projects. And it really does mean that there's many things that are different from a normal school in how the calendar is structured and how the teaching even happens on a day-to-day. When it was originally set up, it was set up where everyone had a particular role. So, for example, if the curriculum had to be designed, it would be someone who'd come in to design that. If the teacher had to teach, the teacher would be doing that. So all of the roles were designed on function as opposed to where are people most trusted. We've gone through a number of iterations where when we've really looked at the team and said, well, hang on a minute, there's some really amazing teachers that are very creative and they've got amazing ideas that could contribute to the curriculum. There's others who are really good at being able to collect information and to be able to really understand individually each of the different students, what they're really needing. There are different people that could be reorganized and allow things to happen in a different way. And so how did we restructure things? It really started by saying, let's just step back from the structure for a moment, and let's really just all get connected to the why, which is the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. And then let's break it down to, and this is what I'm getting to right now, are the two most powerful ways to build trust quickly and rapidly in a way that everyone is able to step into. And I'm going back to this idea of uncertainty. The more there's uncertainty, the more you need it. There's another point to that as well, is that the more uncertainty there is, the more difficult it is to build trust at the same time, because you can't be proving yourself on the ship when the storm is on while the storm is on, because everyone's too busy doing it. So that's why you'll find, for example, in let's say, for example, in online businesses. They'll have something called a sandbox, which is where they get to play with things and test it before they even get out there. People who do things like, trading the markets, or will do test periods. Employees that start up in new ways, they'll say, let's just trial what we're aiming to do together, and what's the new ways we can try and do this. So that's one thing, which is create a space of certainty where people are able to fail and to try new things out. And then secondly, if the second thing is a consequence, which is like, if it goes wrong, we're all screwed, instead of thinking of it that way, think about it from the point of view of saying, well, how can we actually create a space that allows everyone to try things out where there is no cost of failure? So we'd say, right, we're going to set a project up. You guys have got some brilliant ideas here. So let's take the teachers in these grades and these grades. Let's give ourselves a month to see what we can come up with in a different way. Reorganize yourself in whatever way allows you to get the best results. Find out what everyone's strengths is and where they feel most comfortable trusting themselves, and see if it's possible to reorganize everybody in a way that actually gets to where we want to get to. And by testing it out and seeing that work, everyone gets empowered to actually realize they're all trusted in a particular area, that they can work together in order for the team to get trusted. And once that team is able to then start delivering in a way that you go, great, just like practicing before you get in the big match. By the time you get in the big match, you've got your winning team working in the right way, where they've organized themselves in ways that work for them as well. So that's what I would say, is that, yes, if you have the wrong structure to begin with, there's a challenge. But the way to shift that is to get everyone reorganized, focused on what you're actually trying to achieve for that particular week or month or quarter. And then from there saying, look, let's give ourselves the openness to trial a different way of doing it and see if we can get different results which are more effective. And when you do that alongside the other side, even the most skeptical manager at some point will say, well, the results are speaking for themselves. Let's roll this out in a bigger way.
Now, when we see all the time with the clients we're working with, when they do this and they work in this way, first of all, they have so much more fun, because when you're focused at working on things that you are most trusted in, they are your natural talent, it's where you can deliver the most value, it's something that comes easier to you, right? So it's much more fun working on those things that are easier, that you enjoy doing. It's always so much harder to do the things that you're not so good at, that you don't enjoy doing. So you have more fun, you feel more connected. And we see all the time the teams that really focus at how they can build these levels of trust, seeing massive improvements in their business results, literally really quickly, and results that become scalable and sustainable as well. What were some of the things that you started to see in the Green School when you applied this?
Well, the first thing is exactly what you're talking about. That word fulfillment, fulfillment is about feeling full, and it's feeling full of what? Is feeling full of your own self-worth, of the fact that you're actually doing something which is valuable to other people. That's why we make this link between trust and value. What is value? Value is something that people trust because it's sustainable. It continues to show up in a particular way, whether it's a value in a product or a value in an individual. We talk about, as obviously the basis of talent dynamics is primary purpose, which is the primary purpose of an organization, is to be able to contribute value sustainably and profitably to society. And it's the same for a team, and it's the same for an individual within the team. So within Green School, and I've seen this with many other organizations that I've been involved in, where you put this front and center, and you're not doing it for the sake of trust. It's like, you don't drive a car for the sake of the petrol. The petrol's in there to drive the car, to allow it to move, and trust is in there to allow the organization to be successful. And you need it, because without it, everything breaks down. So really what happened, which is one of the most interesting things, is when you have teachers that are motivated and they're involving and fear starts breaking down, which happens in any organization. If you're not feeling trusted, if you're not feeling like you're able to really, if you're not feeling fulfilled, you're not feeling like the area that you actually have of most value, or you may not even be aware of it, is not shining. And frankly, most of us self-sabotage ourselves because we're so busy trying to focus on our weaknesses, we're not even allowing our talents to shine. And talent, by the way, is another word for genius. Talenta is a measure of gold from way back, which was about exactly the same thing. It was like this internal thing we have, which is immovable, which, when given a chance to shine, allows us to shine. And every individual in any organization has got that. It's just in a lot of cases, it's not burning brightly because it hasn't been allowed to, either by the person or by the team. But when that starts burning brightly, it illuminates everything else around it, and you end up, in the case of a school, for example, with, and any school will say this, the teachers that have organized themselves in a way where their own personal talent burns brightly, where they are trusted now by their students to be engaging and to be the way they, and I know of teachers that are very trusted in their ability to have discipline, to have the to have the detail trust, and they will be very different in their character and in their actions and in the integrity they display around that trust than one which is innovation trusted, where the kids would even laugh when they come late to class because they expect it, but when that person shows up, they're just a wonder of ideas and innovation, and students will warm to that in a different way, in the same way we'll warm to an action movie different from a romance. You know, we expect it to be different, and we trust it's going to be different, and it's got an integrity in that element of trust, which is core. And of course, what that does is it serves as an example for the students, where the students themselves say, I don't have to be just the same as all the other students and compare myself to them. I can be shining in the area where I can be most trusted, and I already can see why I'm trusted in some areas different from my fellow classmates, and in life it's going to be like that too. And what this does is it really builds up internal value, and another word for that is self-worth. So this goes way beyond just talking about, you know, how you can grow trust from the point of view of attracting more customers or attracting more employees. It's about how an organization can be a crucible for the growth of the human spirit, which I think is why most entrepreneurs and real great leaders get involved in larger, more complex organizations, for that lifting of spirit they see when people are given an environment that allows that to happen.
I wonder if people really get the significance of what you've just shared there, because I know, speaking to a lot of the companies we work with, they see trust is high on their agenda, they talk about trust, but still when I ask them, you know, more deeply, why is it on their agenda, how high is it on their agenda, there's actually a lot of other things that seem to get in the way before trust. And I think what people have heard just from what you shared already is really why this is so important. And this isn't just about making a financial difference, that's going to happen. There's so much more to this. And I think if you're listening into this call now and you want to find out more about how you can do this, I'd just love to share a little bit at this point, Roger, before I go into the Q&A, because, by the way, I've had a stack of questions for you. So many, we're not going to get through them, but I've picked some questions which I think a lot of people are going to want to hear the answers to. So we'll go through those in a minute. But just want to share about the Trust Conference and exactly why we're hosting the Trust Conference on the 10th of September in central London. It's for that reason. It's when you realize just how important trust is as a value in your organization, that it actually is the driver of everything. By focusing on trust, you're going to see everything improving. You're going to see your productivity improving, your employee engagement scores are going to go up dramatically, people are going to have more fun, they're going to feel more connected to the organization, your business results are going to increase, and everything is going to shift. Like, it's going to be a completely different environment when you focus at it. And I think a lot of people kind of understand this, but then they think, well, how do we do it? When you come to the Trust Conference, the whole day is focused at getting you really clear from, you know, real practical application as to how do you do this? How do you actually make this happen? How do you actually improve trust in your business? And you can see here we've got Stephen Marcovi, who's the author of The Speed of Trust. He's a keynote speaker at the Trust Conference. I was interviewing him last week. Quite a few people already were on that call as well, hearing about the speed of trust. Roger's going to be there as well. We've got a whole host of international speakers, including Paul Dunn, who's flying in from Singapore. We've got Richard Barrett, who's the head of the Barrett Value Center, a global organization with 4,500 license holders, focused at why trust is the most important value to building businesses, and so many other people. Now, Roger, you're going to be here on the 10th of September. I'd love you to just share with everyone, what are you going to be talking about at the conference? What's some of the key messages that people are going to hear from you?
Great. Okay. Well, I'm very excited about the conference. Obviously, it's the first time there's a conference like this in the UK, or actually globally, which is so focused at an area like this. That's bringing all of the top thinkers in this area together. Let me share what I'll be sharing in context to what Stephen shared that he's sharing, because the Speed of Trust, which is all about the core actions that individuals can take, and he talks a lot about behavior, the actions that you can take to create consistent behavior which allows you to be trusted. Hopefully those who heard his call and are listening to this call can see that everything that we're talking about is taking the different core messages that Stephen has and is layering onto that the level of detail. So when we're talking about trusting someone, we can see it's actually 5 different areas we're talking about now. And similarly, I'd like to take that concept of behavior and take that one step further as well. And say my experience of behavior is a lot of organizations try and create a behavior when they've got totally the wrong environment to do it. I mean, why would I be living in Bali right now? Why would we have a resort out here where we constantly see corporations flying their executives around the world to come out to places like Bali and other places where it's a different environment in order for them to get connected and to trust each other in offsite retreats and in brainstorming sessions. And it's because the environment itself shifts trust. I mean, I can trust if this Friday night I go out down to the nightclub, people will be dancing. Now, how would I know that? Did someone teach them behavior of dancing? No, it's because the environment is one that makes people dance. I can trust if if I need some quiet time, I can go into the library. That's where I get the winter trust. That's the detail trust. It'll be quiet there. I can read a book. Is it because everyone was told that's your behavior here? It was more than that. It's that the environment is one in which when you're in there, that is what gets created. So why is this important? That because in every really great organization, they understand what the environment needs to look and feel like in order to elicit a certain behavior that you can trust. When I'm flying in Singapore Airlines and we're landing, they put the music on, they get everyone trusting safety, and they've got everything set in such a way that this is more than just your behaviors now. This is your entire sense of what you can trust. It shifts, and there's a tempo and a melody, and even the way that we talk, in the way that we deliver, which will engender trust or not. It's the same for every one of the 5 different energies, and we can always basically, by being around the right people, trust we're going to then actually create that energy around us as well. So what I'm going to be sharing is taking from the concepts of behavior and how behavior itself will create a sense of security around integrity and intent, capability, result, everything that Stephen talks about. We're taking it one step into what does that environment need to look like. If you have got some people in your team that or feel are underperforming, and you want to bring them together in a particular way, what is the environment you create in order to make that happen? How do you create your own virtual sandbox? Whenever I have a team that don't trust each other, I'll start with frequency, for example. I'll say, all right, guys, rather than let's just go away for a month and see if it works out, let's just check in every couple of days on these very, very small, achievable things we want to do together, and let's not worry about the rest of it. Let's just see if we can just move forward with this just one thing here or this one thing here. And what happens is trust gets built very, very quickly as everyone starts getting aligned into a rhythm and a tempo, which is at a different frequency. Where you show up for those sessions and those meetings so that you're not in areas of conflict is absolutely critical. How you go about actually presenting and working together in those areas to create the space for trust to form is a very different space for brainstorming for innovation compared to a space for service where people are relaxed and actually feel they're being heard. And realizing this, I think many people that come to this will, number one, realize that as we go into this depth, that they are trying to change behaviors in environments which are entirely counterproductive. And secondly, that the environment of the Trust Conference itself is second to none as a place where if you're really looking for solutions, just by being in that environment where people are in conversation and where the stage has been set to make it happen, you're going to be coming out with all sorts of different thoughts, ideas, and more importantly, strategies you can actually put in place straight away that it would be impossible to do just listening to a webinar or just trying to figure it out in the same environment you're in right now.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I can't wait. There's just so much content. I just want to be a participant.